Greetings, family. Greetings, and welcome to the Art of Rising. You already know what we're all about: rising the vibration and rising your status in any shape or form. We're helping you, giving you the codes in life. And I'm always in search of the best guests, and I seem to have found one right here. Let's do it. So, Mayim, correct?
Yes,
Mayim,
hello.
introduce yourself and tell us where you live and what you're doing with yourself these days.
Yes, absolutely. Shalom, my name is Mayim Vega, and I'm a naturopathic herbalist. I'm originally from the Philippine Islands, and then when I was very young, I moved with my family to California, and I lived there till around 2000, was it 2014, I believe. And then I moved to Texas with my family, my husband, and my 4 children. Now I have 9 total that I take care of. And I live in Texas, and it's hot most of the time, and then really cold a little bit. And I do miss the weather and the scenery in California, but I'm happy here. I'm happy. I have a much bigger house, and I've got great friends and things like that. So
That's beautiful. Is your husband also from the Philippines?
no, he is born and raised in California, and he is Jewish, white, and Mexican.
Oh, that's an interesting combination. That's fascinating. You know, when I saw your name, Mayim Vega, I was like,
Mine.
wow, it sounded interesting. And I said, let me hear where she's from. And now you confirmed some of my suspicions that you're from the Philippines. And I do know a little bit, or I've read some where there's lots of Spanish names over there, including my own too, Garcia. They say there's like tons of Garcia over there. Like those Spaniards, they were such loving, affectionate people that
They were conquerors, and so they conquered the Philippines. They conquered Mexico, South America.
That's right. That's right. So that's where you got the name Vega, right?
Well, actually, that's my husband's last name.
Interesting.
My last name, my maiden name is Fedelizo, which is probably of Spanish origin as well. And also my ancestral name is Academia, which is definitely Spanish. So yeah, but Mayim, my name Mayim, that's a Hebrew name, and it means water. And this is the name that I took on after converting to Judaism. So in Judaism, when you convert, you take on a Hebrew name. And I really couldn't figure out like what I wanted to be called. And then my husband said, "Why don't you take the name Mayim?" And I was like, "Oh, Mayim." And I like Mayim Bialik. She's like a famous Jewish actor. And then what Mayim means water. And my old name, it also it was like it meant maiden of the waterfall. And so it's like, I like that name. Let's do Mayim.
Yes, me too. I love it. I love it. When I saw it, I was like, wow, that's beautiful. And thank you for the background on that, because I'm all about names too, right? I feel that we should know what our name means. Some people carry the name, their whole life, and they don't know. See, my name is Omar, and Omar means eloquent speaker. So I try to live up to that.
Yeah, that makes sense, because in Hebrew, you said Omar means elegant speaker. Amar means he spoke, and Omer means speaking.
That's right. That's right.
So yeah, that's a Hebrew name.
That's right. I love it. I love it. So yeah, man, I want to dive a little bit more deeper. First of all, let's talk about the holistic health and the wellness aspect of what is it that you're doing, how you're providing that, and yeah, just a little background.
Yes. So the main part of my business is a holistic healer certification program, where I basically teaching and guiding people to learn nutrition, herbalism, holistic health, or which includes orthomolecular nutrition or megadose vitamin therapy, which was pioneered by Dr. Linus Pauling, who was a 2-time Nobel Prize winner. And he just did all kinds of research to basically prove and show that vitamins, especially vitamin C, is super effective and powerful and safe. There's more research about vitamin C than any pharmaceutical drug out there, but people don't know much about it because there's not a lot of pharmaceutical, profit-driven propaganda to support it. And then in terms of herbalism, my teachers were Western herbalists. It was Master Herbalist John R. Christopher and Richard Schultz. I don't know if you know them, but they're so I like Western herbalism because it makes a lot of sense to me. It's very scientific. I use herbs that a lot of Native Americans used, and also it's like rational, and it's not that I don't believe in Ayurveda or traditional Chinese medicine and herbalism, but coming from, I was formerly a computer scientist at the NASA Ames Research Center. So I have a very logical scientific mind. And so the way I approach herbalism is like it has to be logical and make sense to me. And so that's the kind of herbalism that I practice.
That's beautiful. I do know a bit about that vitamin C. I know years ago I saw this wonderful, intense documentary on vitamin C in high doses, like cures people of like really, really bad sicknesses. I mean, they were on the way out. And then they just started pumping them with this vitamin C, and then they got better. Incredible. Incredible.
It's great for cancer. It's great for the common cold or flu. It's great for just general immune boosting. I have one student who helped her daughter avoid sepsis, and avoid hospitalization. I mean, also I have another student who's a medical doctor, and she was able to stop taking allergy medications. By basically replacing it with high dose vitamin C.
High dose vitamin C. Yes. When I try to take it every day. I try to get a clean, because they put all these fillers in it, and oh man, just terrible. But you gotta shop around, get the right one. I mean, the one that I use, and I also take it with quercetin.
Quercetin, yeah.
Because I read that it reacts better with your body with the quercetin.
Yeah, that's very good. Also, liposomal is a good form of vitamin C because it lasts in your body longer. The normal half-life of vitamin C is half an hour. So I think it was maybe I forgot. I think it was half an hour. My memory might be fuzzy, but anyways, but if you take liposomal, it'll last in your body much longer.
Liposomal, yeah, that's interesting. And I know when they had the pandemic, the vitamin C came right.
Right, vitamin C,
came in
D,
big time.
zinc.
Yeah, vitamin D, right? The zinc, right? They were like pulling them off the shelf. There was the NIAC, was it NIAC? NAC or something that was also
NAC, yeah, NAC.
NAC, yeah. It was gone mysteriously, like they were gone. I was like, I had to go through another friend, through another third party, kind of, and I got my hands on some. It's like, yeah. Thank you for that. Thank you for that so much. All right. So, you're also life coaching people too, because this seems to be a big thing. Also, you helping them, in the entrepreneurship or just life in general.
Right. So the certification program that I have, there's 3 main parts of it. The main, the major part of it is the naturopathic herbalism, which I already stated, where people learn nutrition and herbalism, holistic health, detoxification, things like that. And then the second part of it, which is it's secondary, but it's still very important, is the holistic life coaching part. And this is really, this really helps people help others with their mindset, with the mental and spiritual part of healing, because healing isn't just about our bodies, our physical body. It also has to do with mind and spirit, And so I would say naturopathic herbalism is in my opinion, is kind of like the alternative to like a medical doctor, whereas a holistic life coach would be kind of like an alternative to maybe like a psychiatrist, or even seeing maybe like a spiritual leader, like a pastor or a rabbi. When you go to a spiritual leader for advice, it's kind of like that, and just learning how to support people mentally and spiritually through their healing journey, because usually, oftentimes, the root cause of our illnesses, our sicknesses, our discomforts is spiritual in nature. When you get down to
Yeah.
the bottom of it.
Yes, yes, yes. You would connect with my wife very well, because she helped me along the way. I was a wreck. I was a train wreck walking, but she would always come with these, spiritual, high level, holistic. What's the word I'm looking for? Not holistic, but yeah. Um, and then she would come with the books, and then she would like, here, read this book. And I'm like, nah, get out of here with that book, But then after a while, I was like, okay, give me that one. And then I started reading them. I was like, oh, wow, yeah, she helped me. She helped me. And still, she's up on it. Like every time, we're not feeling well or something, she's got us on the oregano oil and like all kind of herbal things and colon cleansers. And oh my God. Yep.
Yeah,
For real.
exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's great. That's great. I love that. I love that you're into that and you're able to help people in that way, because you already know the pharmaceutical industry, they're gangsters.
Yeah, yeah, they are. Hmm.
The new drug dealer is the one with
They're
the
drug
white coat.
dealers.
Hmm.
They're the strongest drug
Yep.
dealing
Hmm.
gang
Hmm.
in
That's
America.
right. That's right. That's right. And you
Actually, not
know,
even just America. The
Mhm.
World Health Organization.
Right.
That
Oh, yeah.
they're
Oh, please. Yeah. Oh.
they're the for
Mm.
the world,
Yeah. For the world. Yeah. It's
primarily funded
terrible.
by Bill Gates now.
Right. Right. See, my wife,
Used to be
she's good.
America that was funding them
Mm.
a lot, but
Mm. So it's
yeah.
just that guy.
Well, I don't know if it's
Mm.
just that guy, but it's
Mm.
I mean, he's a major funder.
Right.
Sure.
Right. He's a major funder. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just the computer guy. Yeah. Yeah. I know. He did great. Yeah, he did great on the software and all that. Yeah, but the other stuff, nah. I usually tell people that when characters like him do things, it's just like anybody else. Like, let's say you were parking the car outside and people were always like halfway in your parking, but you have all this money and power. What would you do? You would create laws that people would get out of your parking spot, and you would organize the parking thing all over the world. Why? Because it bothered you, and that's it. That's what you wanted to do.
And you can
So
do it because you have the money to do it, right?
that's right. Yeah, you just do it. You're bored, so you. Yeah, it's terrible. It's terrible. But that's great. That's great that you're helping people in that way. So, let's say if someone comes to you, do they come like with these ailments, and what are you seeing these days, and how do you help them herbally?
Well, I help people with really just whatever it is their problem is. I don't focus on specific things.
Mhm.
Although I have helped people. Probably some of my biggest stories is helping one of my students. I taught her how to help her husband with gut health issues. He was
Mm,
suffering with colitis for like 20 years,
mm,
and he got some kind of bug in the military, and his digestive system was just a mess ever since then.
mm,
And so the doctors had him on like a roller coaster of medications, like giving him one, and then it causes other problems, so they have to give him another one, and then that causes another problem, so he has to take another drug, and then the first drug isn't working anymore, so they have to switch that drug, and like he's never really healing him, never really
mm,
addressing the root cause and causing all
mm,
these side effects.
mm,
And so he had like colitis, so really bad
mm.
bowel movements basically, and
Right.
also restless legs and
Mm,
insomnia. And
mm, mm,
when we healed, when she nursed him back to health in terms of his gut health,
mm.
everything else went away, the insomnia, the restless legs,
Beautiful.
etc. And she
Beautiful.
just had to
Beautiful.
feed him the right things. That was the main thing that
Mm,
they were missing, because they were healthy
mm,
in a lot of other ways.
mm,
But it was just having to do special foods, special
mm.
herbs, etc.
Colitis, I know that I do know about it. It's an autoimmune disease, right? That's what they do say. I mean, autoimmune disease is
I,
usually code word for like we don't know what's going on
exactly.
with
Yes,
you, so we're
yes.
just gonna put that word on you.
Yeah, that's
Like your
right.
body's not responding. You have autoimmune. What does that mean? Like, help me. Like you don't know,
Mhm.
which they usually
Yep.
do know, actually. Yeah, but they're not gonna
No,
tell
they
you.
don't know. They usually don't know, or they don't want to
Hmm.
know, because
Or
if they
or they don't want to know. That's right.
because
Right.
no, because I mean, it's not it wasn't hard. It wasn't hard to heal.
Mm, mm,
She just had
right.
to cook certain foods, prepare certain foods for him, and avoid
Alkaline,
other foods. No, probiotic rich, actually.
probiotic rich. Like what?
Mhm.
Like yogurt, I think, or I don't know
Yeah,
what
like
else. What else?
homemade kefir and yogurt,
Mm,
bone
mm,
broth,
mm.
um, you know,
Oh
good
man.
high quality,
This.
collagen, things like that.
Oh man. God bless you and him too, man, and the family. That's great. I'm so happy that you helped them in that way.
Yeah,
Uh,
and she was able to help him in 2 months when he was
wow.
suffering under doctors for 20 years. I mean, that's how simple but effective it was,
Mhm.
you know?
Yeah, we're big here on the sea moss, the Irish sea moss. And Dr. Sebi was the one really that introduced, Dr. Sebi.
Oh, his story is so sad in the
Yeah,
end,
so
what
sad.
they
They got him. They got him
did
at
to
the
him.
end. Yeah, they got him. They got him.
That's
But
so sad.
yeah, but quite fascinating, right? He won a Supreme Court decision or something like that. Yeah, because you can't in this country you can't walk around saying you cured cancer, but he was like, "Yeah, I did," and they were like, "Prove it," and he did. Like he had like 100 people come in with not that they said it, with proof from their doctor saying you had cancer and now you don't have it. Like, oh man. So they would not, yeah. But there's a lot of people like that too. Gerson,
Mhm.
they
Yeah.
tried to get him too. Like many people. There's the past, the gangsters. They're
That's why
gangsters.
they have to move out of
Hmm.
America, really, to
Yeah,
practice.
yeah. His
And I
daughter's still doing. Yeah,
Yes, yes, Charlotte. She's this old lady. She's still
yeah.
alive
Oh,
and
I love her.
kicking and
Oh,
healthy.
that time
Charlotte,
I
yeah.
listen to her YouTube. Like the talks.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, and I take any juice I can get out. Like, oh man, that helps me. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, she's a living testimony of her father's work.
Hmm.
Absolutely.
And she's
You know,
strong too. Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
yeah, yeah, especially for her age. I mean, I
Mm,
hope, I hope I'm that
mm,
strong when
mm.
I'm not even even less than her that age that she's right
Right.
now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say that you were saying that your wife, she wanted you to read a book, and
Mhm,
that's exactly what I do, because I'm not a medical doctor, so I can't prescribe or treat or diagnose disease.
mhm.
So my
I saw that.
recommendations
Mhm,
are
mhm,
knowledge. In the Bible it says, "My people perish for lack of knowledge," and I
mhm,
believe that's not just talking about
mhm,
biblical spiritual knowledge,
mhm,
but it's
mhm,
also talking about, knowledge about health, knowledge about science, knowledge about how our bodies work, knowledge about how herbs work, knowledge about
mhm,
how food works,
mhm,
knowledge about the corruption and the propaganda that
mhm,
the pharmaceutical companies and the food organs like the FDA and the AMA
mhm,
and the
mhm, mhm,
MDA and WHO and
mhm,
all these three-letter government organizations, knowledge about what they're really trying to do and what their motivation is. Really always think
mhm.
about what is their motivation, why are they telling you these things,
Right.
And there's a lot of information out there, but it doesn't have the thousands and millions and billions of dollars of propaganda behind it. So I really believe that healing the world, healing people, healing ourselves, the key is not a single herb, it's not a specific diet, because there's a different diet that different people need for different times in their lives, right? And different herbs. But really, the key is knowledge, and also trusting, I believe, the divine spirit within us, that is connected to the great spirit above all, and trusting that this divine spirit will lead us to the right knowledge, because there's a lot of conflicting information out there, right? Like when I had 2 health crises in my life. I suffered from hypothyroidism most recently, and one of the things that I saw that was most healing to me was supplementing with iodine. And if you research hypothyroidism and iodine supplementation, you'll hear 2 completely opposite stories. We have doctors on one side, they're saying you need to avoid all iodine as much as possible, get rid of it totally from your life, from your diet, etc. And you have another set of doctors on another side, and they're saying, no, you need lots and lots and lots of iodine. So for me, I was like, well, you know what? We never used iodized salt, and we always made our own food. So we never added iodine to anything. I was like, I don't think I need to try to get rid of iodine, because I don't hardly have any iodine in my diet. So I said, I'm gonna try the iodine, and it worked.
Wow.
And so that's another thing is, people are always trying to get you to be afraid to try a certain diet, a certain herb, a certain supplement or vitamin. But then, they're like, oh, consult your doctor before you try this diet. Consult your doctor before you take this herb or any vitamin, right? And it's like, doctors don't know anything about them. And how many times are doctors warning us about the negative side effects of pharmaceuticals, which are 1,000 times more harmful than most drugs or vitamins? And one example of that is, let's say I have a friend who comes to visit at my house, and they're on high blood pressure medications, right? And what if they accidentally drop one of their high blood pressure pills on the floor and I can't find it? Well, I'd be freaked out, right? Because what if one of my little babies, my youngest is 5 years old now, what if she picks it up and thinks, ooh, little candy, Tic Tac or something or whatever, and then pops it in her mouth? What am I going to have to do? I'm going to have to call 911 Poison Control Center, so that can, because all the crazy side effects.
And then they'll arrest you for
oh, hopefully not
dropping it on the carpet. Yeah, it's terrible. Oh, they're evil, they're devils.
But then if I were to drop a vitamin C pill, or one of my herbal pills, let's say, for example,
right,
the worst that'll happen that I'd be afraid of is, oh, my baby's going to maybe get diarrhea. That's it.
Right. That's it.
That'll pass. I know how to handle diarrhea. I don't have to call 911 or Poison Control Center. And that's how amazingly different the two are, and how extremely safe one is. And yet all this fear is being put on against vitamins and herbs and all these natural holistic treatments. And so the cure for the fear, because the real sickness comes from the propaganda and the lies and all the fear mongering that the government and other medical institutions are putting. And the real cure is to free our minds through knowledge, through education.
Yeah. I usually tell people, do your own research. Don't take my word for it. Look it up, bro. But I was in I think it was like about 2 years ago, I was in the dentist waiting in the room, and there's a TV there, which now there's a TV everywhere. Like I can't even go to, have a decent meal. I got to hear about murders and arson and but anyway, I'm there waiting, and I'm looking at the TV. They had like some soap opera playing, but then they started with the commercials. And I kid you not, it was like about 7 or 8 commercials out of the 9 or 10 were all about pharmaceutical. I counted them. I was like, wow, that's a lot of that's a lot. In
It
my
is. And
opinion.
do you know why? I mean, have you ever watched any of those commercials and was like, "Ooh, I need to buy that pharmaceutical drug"? Has that ever happened to you?
No, and nobody that I know.
No.
Oh, ask your doctor about. Nobody asks their doctor.
Yeah, right? So, do you know the real reason why
I would
those
I,
those
I
drug
would only
commercials are
guess
on?
that it would be more like a subconscious type of thing. That's all I would think.
No.
Okay.
This is why they're on. Because when those pharmaceutical companies run ads on those television stations, they're
Mhm.
giving those television stations a lot of money.
Mm.
And then what that gives them the power to do is that they can silence anyone that is going to say anything negative about
Mm.
modern medicine or pharmaceuticals. So if you have someone, if you have a speaker or a news commentator or let's say a television show and they want to teach alternative remedies and things like that, well,
Right.
they're going to say, you know what, we don't like that guy, we don't like that speaker, we don't like
Yeah.
that show. You better
Sorry.
cancel
Yeah.
it or
Mhm.
else we're going to pull our commercials on there. So it's
Interesting.
more of a way of censoring people
Right.
like
Right.
us, really,
Right.
so that
Right.
we
Right.
can't get on mainstream media. And
Wow.
they did that with TED Talks. You know what TED Talks are, right?
Yes, I do. Yeah.
In the very beginning, they used to have a lot of holistic speakers that would say different things, and a
Mm.
lot of them have been blocked, have been banned, and the
Mm.
speakers that are allowed to speak now, they're not as against these
Right.
government and
Mhm. Right.
pharmaceutical
Right.
institutions anymore.
Interesting. I did want to also mention that I don't know if people know, but hundreds of people pass just by a prescription that a doctor has written of some sort of
Right.
medication. And then when you
Hmm.
mention some things like alternative herbals and or plant medicine, and like the numbers are like low, like
No,
nothing,
no,
not
right,
yeah,
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 exactly,
yeah. It's
exactly.
like I
Yes,
was shocked to learn
iatrogenic
that it was like
errors.
hundreds.
No, no, from research done,
Mm.
it's said that iatrogenic errors, which is correctly prescribed um, drugs or procedures, that they are the third leading cause of death. It's just part of like the side effects of these drugs and procedures. Third
Mhm.
leading cause of death in America.
Yeah, and I
So
know
it's like,
you cannot sue them either, right? I think
well,
they're protected now or something. Is that correct?
you can sue them, but it doesn't stop them because they have great insurance, you know?
Right, right, right.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Not
not you can't I don't think you can sue them for doing anything. Iatrogenic errors, these include things that they didn't do anything wrong. Like you can sue them for doing something wrong, but
mm,
iatrogenic errors, most of that is like they're not doing anything wrong. They're doing exactly what they're supposed to do.
mm,
And a large side effect is
yeah.
just death, you know?
Yeah, yeah. I think. Oh, I see something here in 2022. At least it was 1,000, over 1,000. Wow, that those numbers just started.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I'm good. I'm good. I take my kids to the doctors when they need to, but I'm right on them. I watch them. Oh no, they've suggested. Look, we want to just do no. And then the doctor, she got on me. Wow, what if something happens to your cat? It's just that. And then she left the room, and then the other doctor came in. It was like the good cop, bad cop. You know, and then the soft one came in. No, you should do it because what if? I'm like, he's fine now. So what if we'll just do that? If and then the other one came back after that. Oh, I can't believe. I was like, look,
Yeah. They play that
yeah.
trick, right? And that's why education is so important because if you haven't studied, if you don't have experience and don't have knowledge,
Mhm.
you have nothing to lean on. You don't know any other truth except for
Right.
what they're telling you. So I believe that the education that I'm giving to people, I believe that everyone should learn this. I believe everyone
Yeah.
should learn this like in high school, you know what I
Right.
mean, or
For
college
sure.
or something. And we
For
spend
sure.
so many years teaching our
Yeah.
children math that they'll never use, or history that they're going to forget anyways,
Right.
like
Yeah. Yeah.
all this
It
stuff.
makes
And
me.
we're not even teach them about how to take care of their
Yeah.
bodies properly.
I think doctors, they spend all those years to be a doctor, and I think they get like, what is it, like 6 months of nutrition? Like
Oh, I have a
nothing.
friend that was a
Nothing.
doctor. She said she took one class in
Yeah.
nutrition, and
Yeah.
she said that she didn't learn anything.
Of
She
course
didn't learn
not.
anything
Of course
useful.
not. That's why they can't tell
Nothing
you, like we
more than
said
basic.
earlier, is because they don't know. They just don't know.
Yeah.
They're not going to tell you something. Yes. Now you spoke about the Bible, and it has some wonderful information there too. And I had learned that there's a scripture that says when you eat the fruit, eat the seeds too. And I was
Yeah,
like, wow,
it says
yeah,
I've given you every fruit bearing seed. Yeah, absolutely. And one of the
yeah,
one very healing um seed is from apricot kernels. This is very
right,
healing,
right.
especially for cancer.
Mm-hmm.
No one in our family is diagnosed with cancer, but just preventative measures. When we buy apricots, we open it up, we
Hmm.
get the kernel, we just throw it in our smoothies.
Yeah.
So it's
There's
preventative.
there's a leaf also that they were saying that it's like 1,000 more powerful times more powerful than chemotherapy. I forgot the name of the leaf that you just drink it as a tea, and I was like, wow, incredible. And you said that some things are good for some people and not. And I did want to say that when you meet the person that tells you, I have the shoe that fits everybody, stay away from that guy. Because
Yeah,
not
yeah. I
every
mean,
shoe fits everyone.
I think there's some things that most people need, like like
Yeah,
everyone. I think
some
everyone needs
things. So,
exercise, water,
of course, yeah, some things.
sunshine.
Yeah, but not the one shoe. No, because some people need more of this, some people more of that. Some people, like you said about the iodine, maybe it worked for you, but maybe it doesn't work for other people too. You know,
Yeah. Also, specific diets. Like I don't believe everyone should be
right,
vegan, for
right.
example,
It's
or
not. Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Mhm.
Now tell me about now. And you mentioned about the spirituality of it, and the energies that people, it gets stuck in their bodies, and because I know about a little bit about that also. But these healing modalities and the herbals, did you learn them before you started your spiritual journey, or was it when you were on it and then you started gaining knowledge through scripture or holy text?
Well, I've always been a very spiritual person ever since I was a child. My parents raised me up to just be a really big believer and whenever my father, I remember whenever I had a question that he didn't know the answer to, he'd just say, ask God, pray about it. No, I don't know,
Mm,
you know? So,
mm.
I just
I like
always,
that.
I always just had an ongoing dialogue with the creator.
Mm,
And I had some miraculous healings in my life, but
mm,
I do believe in miraculous healings, but I don't believe that we should rely on them. And that's the principle in Judaism, that we are not to rely on miracles. Not that God can't create miracles in our lives. I mean, I
mm.
do believe that our God is a God of miracles, but he doesn't want us to be lazy, and just like want a miracle all the time.
Yeah.
He wants
Mm,
us to know what to do, what the right thing is, how to take care of
mm,
ourselves, how to take care of our bodies.
mm,
But over time, and I converted to Judaism, and and I really appreciate the very deep and rich study of the Bible that my Jewish faith has opened me up to. And so I just finished, actually very recently, my first draft of a book called and I just actually, even I think it was just yesterday when I was like, okay, I want this is going to be the title. I was playing around with the title for a long time. um,
mm.
so the title is The Aruka Method, which is what I call my holistic health and healing method. The Aruka Method: Holistic Health and Healing for the 5 Levels of the Soul. And so Aruka is a word in the Bible. In modern Hebrew, it means like long or whole. But in biblical Hebrew, it's translated to health and healing or cure. And also in Hebrew Bible, there's different words for soul. There's different words that become translated as soul. Sometimes they're translated as something else, but sometimes they're also translated as soul. And so this is a Jewish belief that there are 5 levels of the soul. And so we have the first level, which is what modern medicine and what most people think of when they think about health or healing. And it's the soul level of nefesh. So nefesh is the breath of life. And in Hebrew, it's, well, I guess people won't know, it's nun fe shin. It's like an NF and SH or something like that, right? And so to keep our nefesh healthy, we have to do things like eat right, exercise, get sunshine, all those things, take certain herbs maybe sometimes. And this is like our physical health. And then the second level of the soul is the ruach. And so this is also translated as spirit or soul. And there's also, throughout the Bible, it'll say things like spirit of fear, spirit of anger, spirit of timidity, things like that. And so that word for spirit, it's ruach, and it's very much tied to our emotions. And so to take care of our ruach, we have to take care of our emotional health. And we have to realize that that there are no bad emotions. Every single emotion is a gift from God, whether it's a good emotion like happiness, joy, things like that, or a negative emotion like sadness or fear or anger even. They're actually all good in the end. They're there to help us somehow. They're there to protect us, to guide us, to give us wisdom on, okay, this doesn't feel right, or, oh, this person is violating me somehow. So you need anger sometimes. You need sadness sometimes to get you through a bad situation. The only thing that when it becomes unhealthy is when we don't control them. Emotions are a gift to us. They shouldn't be our manager. They're just one level of the soul. And so we should
I love that.
Yeah, we should welcome all of the emotions and manage them and use them to guide us in the right path. And then we have our neshama, and this is also often translated as soul and also breath. Also, you really don't see this in the English, but in the Hebrew, you're like, oh, it's this specific word. But the neshama is the breath of the divine. And it is our spiritual and intellectual essence. And like I was saying before, that, it says in the Bible, my people perish for lack of knowledge. And so in order to keep our neshama healthy, we have to study. We have to grow in our intelligence, in our knowledge, in understanding, in our wisdom. And this level of our soul, our intellectual soul, so to speak, will help us with the other parts of our soul. So it's through knowledge, it's through strengthening our neshama that we can strengthen our physical nefesh, that we can strengthen our emotional ruach. When we have the knowledge, like emotional intelligence, intelligence about health, etc. So neshama is very, very important. Our intellectual health is very, very important. And then got 2 more. We've got Haya, and this is often, something that is connected to animals. Wild animals are also called Haya, and this has to do with what we do with our physical bodies. And in the Bible, it talks about how the birds and the beasts, they naturally do instinctually what they were created to do. They do very naturally and fulfill their purpose, just every day without even thinking. Whereas human beings, we have the instinct, but sometimes, and we also have our divine nature, and sometimes different parts of us get in the way of us fulfilling our purpose and doing what we need to do, what we know is right. And doing the right thing includes doing the right thing to ourselves, like loving ourselves, making sure that we're putting up proper boundaries and self-care and things like that. And then also involves, doing the right thing to our fellow man, our children, our spouse, our community, the world, through our business, through, what kind of customer are you? What kind of manager are you? What kind of worker are you? What kind of citizen are you? Those are all, the higher level of our soul. And that needs to be on a healthy level. And then I would say that the final level of the soul is called yechida. And this means oneness or unity. And in the Christian Bible, Jesus said, I and the Father are one, right? And then he prayed, he said, let them be one, talking about his disciples. He said, let them be one, just as we are one. Let us be all one. Let's all be. And I believe this is about, just getting in touch with our divine nature again, that divine Holy Spirit that is within each and every single one of us, which is the same that's in everyone, right? And it's this also, it's from the same source as the great spirit that created the whole universe, and just understanding that. And I think some practical ways to do that is, again, to understand, just like our emotions, both the good and the bad, they're all actually good. I think to be one with the creator, one of the important things that we have to understand is that good and evil are also one. Meaning, so there's a verse in the Bible that says, Yotzer or uvore choshech, which means I form light, I fashion light, and I create darkness. So God's saying there that both light and darkness, those are in my control. And so the tragedies in our lives, the cancer in our lives, the divorce in our lives, all of these hardships, the war, the turmoil, everything, they're actually also from God, not just the good, not just the blessing, not just the joy, not just peace. Even war is from God. And that sounds crazy sometimes, to think that all that evil can be from God. But the truth is, we don't really appreciate the good. We don't really appreciate joy unless there's pain, right? We can't really appreciate good unless there's evil. We can't really appreciate peace unless we understand what war is. And so I believe that all of these trials and sufferings that come to us, both on a personal level, but also on a global level, like as humanity, as just citizens on planet Earth, they are part of our learning process, so that we can be ready for a more glorious eternity and a more glorious existence. You know what I'm saying?
I do.
Like, yeah.
I do. I do know what you're saying. Go ahead. Continue.
Yeah, like Adam and Eve in the garden, as a Christian, I was taught that, Adam and Eve, they were bad because they ate the fruit of the knowledge of good and evil. But as a Jew, now I understand that we were always meant to eat the fruit of the knowledge of good and evil. I mean, why did God create it in the first place? And why would he put it right in the garden within our reach? We were always meant to eat that fruit. The thing is, the only thing that we did wrong is that we did it at the wrong time, and that God wanted us to eat it in his presence. Much like when you have a child, you're not going to give him a gun right away when he's a little baby. But when he grows up, well, I'm a Texan, so I can say this, right? When he grows up, you're going to teach him how to shoot, right? When like my children, I'm teaching them how to shoot a gun at the appropriate time. Or like if you're a farmer, I have friends who have farmers, and they have some of their, I don't know, this might sound crazy, but some of their, teenagers, like 13, 14-year-old children, know how to use a pistol or even a rifle. Because if they're out there and there's a wild animal that might threaten them or their mother or one of the animals, they got to take out that gun and shoot that wild beast, or else be eaten. So it's not that he didn't want us to eat of the knowledge of truth, of the tree of good and evil, but he wanted to be there with us so that he could teach us how to properly use it. We kind of jumped the gun. So, it happened the way it happened, but it was always meant to be. And if we understand that, I think the good thing about understanding that is that we don't have to be mad at God, and we don't have to lose faith in God. And we can also have faith that every single negative situation that we face, every person that hates us or talks smack about us, you know,
Mm-hmm.
us losing our job, whatever it is, whatever stressor in our life, it's there for a reason, and it's there to help us grow and learn something. And we will be stronger and more victorious in the end if we take it that way, and if we use it as a stepping stone instead of
Yes.
falling on that rock.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you. That was beautiful. Great, point of view on some of those things. And, but I also wanted to talk about the Judaism, and how do you weave that, spiritual journey and the teachings, in your lifestyle with your husband, and making you that family person,
Well, yeah, I really,
or a stronger family person. Yes, that's what I meant to say.
yeah, I mean, one of my health crises in my life, the most recent one that I was talking a little bit about, was I got severe hypothyroidism, and with that, it got to be so that I got so sick that my thyroid stopped working, so it wasn't able to regulate my temperature. So I live in Texas, and it gets like 105 degrees or more in the summertime. And it was a hot Texas summer day, but I was freezing cold all of a sudden, just out of the blue. It just happened like in a second. And I got my winter down jacket on. I got some hot tea, and I went outside in the 105-degree weather so that I could warm up. And it took me like an hour out there to finally get warm, you know? And then I had these severe migraines. All I could do was just like lay in bed for weeks. I couldn't do anything. It was so painful. I just laid in bed for weeks. And so, but why? Why did I have that? And I had told you, I used iodine, and I used the carnivore diet to nurse me back to health. But what was the root cause? And the root cause was, again, I said before, it was spiritual. And so the spiritual issue was, we, as a woman of faith, I agreed to take care of my husband's mother's adopted children, who she adopted late in her life. And so they made her appoint someone to take care of him after she passed away. But we saw that she was not able to take care of them early, so that we shouldn't wait until she passed away to help her, that we should start now, because she just didn't have the strength to take care of them. And so we took them on, but they had a lot of issues, and I just really felt like my husband wasn't really supporting me. It was extremely difficult. I wanted to divorce. I felt like I wanted to divorce my husband. And I was like, this is crazy. And I feel like all of this responsibility is being put on me, and it's extremely hard. And I felt like I was getting no support, and it was just extremely, extremely hard. And all that stress led me to the hypothyroidism. But, as a woman of faith, I was like, I always try to work things out. And so we had done therapy in the past, but this time we did coaching. We got marriage coaching for the both of us, which gave us tools to communicate and work through our problems and work as a team. And then I also got personal life coaching to help me with just whatever personal things that came out, especially how to deal with all the negative thoughts that would just come up every single day, that would bother me, that would trouble me, that would make me sad or mad or whatever. And both of those things are super helpful. And that's actually why I added the life coaching part to my certification program. And so I think, my faith in my Jewish faith really helped me to just, take the hard times and say, you know what, I'm going to get out of it. God's going to get me out of it. This is for my good. God wants us to stay together. I do believe that the purpose of marriage is to accurately reflect the divine image, because man and woman alone can't reflect the divine image, because it says that we together will make the divine image. And so so we did it, and our marriage has never been stronger. And I think that if we never went through that hard time, that we would have never been this close as we are right now.
For sure. Oh, for sure. Like, you wouldn't even, be talking to each other. It would have ended ugly. Yeah. But that's beautiful. I personally feel that people who are steeped into their belief in a higher power, it's beneficial for everyone, like for the kids, for mom and dad, for the grandparents, like all of those things makes them much, much more stronger. It's one of the things that me and my wife also have as well. No matter what happens, things get tough, and we don't agree, and then she gets on my nerves, and I know I get on hers, for sure. But we have that thing, that higher power, that spirituality. And when those things come up and we focus on that, all of those other things, they're just petty. They just like melt away. Like it's not even what are you holding on to it for? Like, just let it go. We have a higher purpose. And this is one of our purposes too. I'm doing the podcast, and we're the Omzia Healing Sanctuary. And we're serving the community and whoever comes through, and then we travel quite a bit too. So we do short-term rentals also. So we're still in the service business, and it's just wonderful. And your story is quite amazing. We're coming up to the hour, so I want to just thank you personally for everything, your whole story and all that. And I know that people can find you on the website, and if there's anything else that you'd like to just throw in, now's your time.
Yeah. Yeah, actually my link is the aruka.com / just aruka.com. Don't do the Zoom. That
Not
will
the
just get
Zoom.
you
Okay.
to the Zoom. Yeah.
I thought about that, and I was like, I'm not sure, but I was like, you know what, just leave it. But yeah, okay, I got you.
Yeah,
So
just
I want I want people to
www.
be. I do want people to be able to reach out to you, because your information is like, wow, much needed. And I also saw the disclaimer on your website, which is like super important too. But the knowledge itself, like, wow, so helpful. Thank you so
Yeah,
much.
absolutely.
So that's the
Yeah,
best
well,
place
thank
where
you.
people can reach out to you, and if they want to speak with you, that's how they can
Yes.
reach you, correct?
Yeah, my website is a
Excellent.
good place. I'm also on YouTube. I have a channel there, and I talk about health and wellness, and also I teach Hebrew and Torah and Judaism too. So it's like a little mix of everything.
Excellent. Keep it going, man. Don't stop. Don't stop. Don't stop. Just keep it consistent. Like, it's needed, and there's an audience out there for that. And I love what you're doing. So thank you so much for being on the show. I appreciate
Yes,
you.
thank you. It's always nice to have a
Of
conversation with a
course.
fellow healer.
Yes. So what I'll do is I'll just put you backstage for a minute while I close up right here. So stand by. There you have it, guys. Wow. Super powerful stuff. The knowledge is there, as you could see. Yes, please look her up, man. There's the website right there, and you can just reach out to her and see what she's all about. Why not? Do your own homework. Okay, guys. Until the next one.